So, UFC 327 Prochazka vs Ulberg is going down this weekend, and I, King Here MMA, will be discussing the picks and odds, my picks and the odds of the card. And yeah, before we get right into it, the Instagram's live, obviously. You come from the Instagram to the YouTube, give a follow. You go onto the YouTube to the Instagram, give a sub. So yeah, for the first fight of the card, it's a sick card. I'm gonna appreciate this. Like, for your first or second fight, this would literally be on a main card of a Apex Fight Night. But yeah, Francisco Prado versus Charles Radke. Charles Radke, he's an interesting fighter. He's one of those guys that He's one of those guys that can beat the cans of welterweight, but can't really beat the better fighters. So, example, he submitted Daniel Franza, beat the shit out of him, but gets knocked out by Mike Malott. Beats the shit out of Matthew Samuelsberger, gets knocked out by Carlos Prates. Aren't bad losses, and he beat Gilbert Urbina before that. Not a bad fighter, real forward heavy guy, real good a really good wrestler too. Got heavy hands, got fucking bombs in his hands. And Francisco Prado, he fails to perform. His last win was Zayatar. That was 4 years ago, and he's just gotten dominated in every fight since then. Losing to Ventanikov, losing to Jake Matthews, and losing to Daniel Zellhuber, which is not a great loss, and that was at lightweight. He's moved up to welterweight to try and find his thing. He's gone 0-2 at welterweight. I'm going to choose Charles Radke. I think he's a way better fighter than Francisco Prado, and he's won more than he's lost. So yeah, Charles Radke is $1.50 and Francisco Prado is $2.50. And for the next fight, this is so strange. Kelvin Gastelum at middle, obviously being a middleweight. And if this shit loads. Okay, we're just going to not expand it apparently. But Kelvin Gastelum calls it, clicks onto the fight a bit, won't expand it. Because Kelvin Gastelum's fat. Anyway. We all know who Kelvin Gastelum is. He's been a win-loss fighter. He beat Dustin Stolfus in a very close fight, mind you. But then he lost to Joe Pyfer, won that third round, nearly got knocked out. Then beat D-Rod. Is actually not a bad aging win. And yeah, he's just been a very win-loss fighter, losing to the best of the division and then winning to actually half-decent fighters. These losses have looked pretty, those fighters have looked pretty good, so, yeah. But for Vicente Luque, hasn't looked great in his last few. Losing to Joel Alvarez is no shame. But then he got submitted by Kevin Holland in, under a round. He submitted Themba Gorimbo at the end of 2024, which Themba Gorimbo I don't rate very well. And then he got knocked out by Joaquin Buckley. He's gone up to middleweight for some unknown reason. And I'm going to be honest, look at Kelvin Gastelum's fat body. I'm going to choose Kelvin Gastelum by, honestly, could be a knockout. I don't know why Vicente Luque is going up to middleweight, 2 weight classes from his original weight. Kelvin Gastelum's $1.40 and Vicente Luque is $2.90. Yep, and for the next fight, we have Chris Padilla versus Marco Medeiros. Yeah, finally. There was Kelvin Gastelum's fat ass covering the thing. Chris Padilla, bro, he's looked good in the UFC, man. I think he has lost in the UFC. Nope, he's all wins in the UFC. And his wins are pretty good, man. James Lontop, people are considering him good. Rong Zhu, he's actually half decent. Jai Herbert, he's a mainstay of lightweight, and he knocked out Ismail Bonfim. Mind you, he's the weaker Bonfim brother. but he's still like half decent competition. And Marco Medeiros, his competition hasn't been as great as Chris Padilla's. He's been going to decision with a lot of them. I can't remember half his fights, but going to a decision with Austin Hubbard's pretty shocking nowadays. Chris Padilla got that like a good heavy wrestler with like a good boxing frame. I'm gonna choose Chris Padilla by a decision. I think he's just the competition he's faced, and also like I really do rate finishes over like decisions. Like he has finished his last 3 of his 4 opponents. I'm gonna go Chris Padilla by finish, honestly. Chris Padilla, he's $2. No, he's $1.60, and Marco Medeiros is $2.40. So yeah. Now, Jesus, this is on a prelim. Tatiana Suarez versus Lupi Godinez. Tatiana Suarez, you know, she's been undefeated in the UFC so far, except for her 1 loss by Zhang Weili. Obviously not undefeated anymore. She was undefeated till she fought Zhang Weili. She looked real out of step in that fight. But besides that, she's been dominating all her opponents. Before Zhang, she beat Jessica Andrade, mainstay, Montana De La Rosa, and then Nunes. Then she kind of smudged Amanda Lemos. You know, like she was struggling on the feet there. Like if Lupi Godinez was to somehow keep her up, she'd struggle. But Lupi Godinez literally gets taken down every fight by all her opponents. She had a good decision against Andrade. Then Julia Pilastri, which that was her way into the division. Then she lost to Mackenzie Dern and Vinna Gendarova. Mind you, they're the top fighters at the division. I think Tatiana Suarez is going to just smudge her. She does that in a lot of her fights. It'd be a very smart game plan, and she usually is smart with the game plan. I think she's also physically bigger than Lupi Godinez. I'm going to go Tatiana Suarez by a smudge decision. Unless Lupi Godinez can keep her up, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think, Tatiana Suarez is $1.60 and Lupi Godinez is $2.30. So yeah, that's that. Now this is an underrated fight. Mateusz Gamrot versus Esteban Ribovics. Man, this is actually a real hard fight to like determine. So Mateusz Gamrot, Bon Gummin, we all know how he is. He lost his last fight against Charles Oliveira, very short notice, got out grappled actually by him. Then Fiziev pulled out of his fight, so Ludovic Klein came in on short notice. Had a real boring wrestling decision against him. And then he had a super close fight with Dan Hooker. Then beat Rafael dos Anjos before that. But, yeah, like, you know, like he's looked good against some of the top comp, but like his win against Fiziev was a knee injury. It wasn't actually anything crazy. He beat Arman Sarukian years back, but are we really going to count that? No. I like to count stuff in the last 2 to 3 years. He just hasn't looked very good in his last few performances. With Esteban Ribovics, like he's had some crazy wars. Got robbed in that Nasrat Hasbrat fight. Beat the shit out of Elvis Brenner. And then had that fight of the year with Daniel Zellhuber. Honestly, should have been a 30-27, 30-26. And then knocked out Terrence McKinney in a round. But McKinney's going to be knock you out and get knocked out. Here's my 2 thoughts. If Mateusz Gamrot doesn't get Esteban Ribovics down, I think he gets knocked out. But because Mateusz Gamrot gets damaged in every fight, and I think Esteban Ribovics will jump on top of him and try and finish him. But if Esteban Ribovics can't handle the grappling of Gamrot, I think Gamrot's going to have his way with him. So, this is a super hard fight. I haven't seen anything to say that Ribovics is bad in the grappling though, because Mateusz isn't much of a finisher when it comes to the submissions. I'm gonna go like very hesitantly Esteban Rivervix by a decision or TKO. I'm gonna go TKO in the second or third round. First roughy on the card that I'm choosing. Very hesitant though. So yeah, Two Scamrot's $1.50 and Esteban Rivervix is $2.50. So yeah, that's my choice. And now for a friggin' goofy ass matchup, we have Kevin Holland versus Randy Brown. These dudes are the like same fighter basically, except like I don't know how to explain Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland, he's the sort of guy to be. He just like, oh yeah, I don't give shit about my career. But then he'll like go on a 2-fight losing streak. Then he'll like win against like a half decent prospect. Then you think the Kevin Holland title run's coming, and then he loses again. His last 2 losses was to D-Rod. I don't even know what was going on in that fight. I don't know how he got caught by D-Rod so much. And then he had a weird nut shot injury against Mike Malott. But before that, I legit thought he was going to go on a run. He beat Gunnar Nelson, who's actually an impressive win. And then he beat Vicente Luque, not the greatest win. Looked impressive, and he was utilizing his submission game in those fights, like more of his grappling game. But Randy Brown didn't look too bad in his last few fights. Like, got knocked out by Gabriel Bonfim, then like struggled against Nicholas Dalby, but then knocked him out, and then got robbed by Brian Battle. He should have never lost that fight. But yeah, like Randy Brown, sort of rangy, sort of like striker, kind of like Kevin Holland, but like I'd like to say smarter, but also like chinnier than Kevin Holland, which is strange to say. But Kevin Holland isn't chinny. Like Randy Brown is chinny. Every time I spin Randy Brown, he's on the jelly legs, or he's like, yeah, he's struggling in a fight. It's so hard because I want to choose Kevin Holland, but this is a fight where my gut is saying like Randy Brown. Not my gut. My brain says Randy Brown, but my gut says Kevin Holland. It's one of those fights where like you think Randy Brown will be winning, and then Kevin Holland will come out of nowhere with like a rear naked from standing or some shit like that. I'm just gonna throw it out there. It's heads. I'll go Kevin Holland. I think Kevin Holland's, if he's smart enough, he'll use his range. He'll use a little bit of grappling. I don't know what. There shouldn't be any grappling in this fight. I think Kevin Holland's gonna get a TKO. I think Randy Brown's a bit chinny. I think Kevin Holland's still got that power in him. And yeah, I think a TKO in the second round looks good. Kevin Holland is $2.10 and Randy Brown is $1.70. Don't know why I spent so much on this fight. Yep. And now for the Bellator main event, somehow, we have Patricio Pitbull versus Aaron Pico. Patricio Pitbull had a long career in Bellator. Came over to the UFC a little bit too late, around 36, 37 years of age. You know, he's 1-1. Like, losing to Yair is no shame. Had a pretty close fight with Dan Ige. Did rock Ige a few times in that fight. He's not like his old self, like his prime self. If he was in his prime self, I would guarantee he'd be a top 5 fighter. He's just like real methodical, real slow with his strikes, but like still smart with it. And Aaron Pico, his single fight in the UFC, he was looking great until he got slimed out by Lerone Murphy. Who does that to Aaron Pico? Everyone on the regional scene, apparently. But no, man, this is literally a Bellator main event on the prelims. I think, see, Patricio Pitbull's like plotty style you think might do well against Aaron Pico, but he's not like a Josh Emmett just throwing like haymakers to the wind. I think if Aaron Pico does something similar to what he did against Lerone Murphy, except like not come straight into a fucking spinning elbow, which is crazy, I think he should be able to TKO and knock out Patricio Pitbull. Use his wrestling, use his striking. He's the younger, faster, more athletic opponent. I don't think 38-year-old Pitbull's going to be able to like keep up with that. I think it'd be smart of Pico to use his athleticism in this fight. I think Pico is going to win by a TKO. So yeah, Aaron Pico's $1.30 and Patricio Pitbull's $3.70. So yeah, that's my choice. And for the start of the main card, we have Cub Swanson's retirement fight against Nate Landwehr. Nate Landwehr brings it every time. But Nate Landwehr's last 3 fights, he got knocked out by Morgan Charrier, but was actually looking half good. Got bullied by Doo Ho Choi. And then knocked out Jamal Emmers, but Jamal Emmers isn't really top level comp. Cub Swanson, he had a really good decision over Hakeem Dawodu. Hakeem Dawodu was a half decent featherweight. Lost to Andre Philly, but I've actually been rating Philly lately. And then had a nasty KO over Billy Quarantillo in like a war. And Cub Swanson's pretty technical, man. Like, I think a lot of people are thinking Nate Landwehr and Cub are just going to swing it out. They will, but I think Cub's going to have that like technicality that he has to him as he's gotten older. And since this is his retirement fight, I don't think he wants to get slimed out. This feels a lot like, for some reason, I'm getting deja vu of Robbie Lawler versus Nico Price. This is exactly what this reminds me of. Nico Price versus Robbie Lawler. I feel like it's going to be a first round KO from Cub Swanson. It just feels like that. Because it's like a very similar matchup. I'm not saying Nate Landwehr is as bad as Nico Price, but it just feels a lot like that. Feels like for Cub Swanson going to get a KO. And that's what I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess Cub Swanson by KO in the first round. Cub Swanson's $1.97 and Nate Landwehr's $1.87. So yeah, I'm going Cub for a first round KO. I think Nate Landwehr is going to come too hard. And Cub's just going to fucking bomb a right hand on his chins. And it'll be a great retirement if that would be the case. So yeah, that's my guess. And for the next fight, we have the chinniest fight of the card. Dominic Reyes versus Johnny Walker. This is honestly... I don't know how to predict this fight because it's literally just like who lands first. So, if we look at these guys' last few fights, Johnny Walker, he won against Ming Zhang, but he did some goofy shit against him. Gotten knocked out by Uzdemir and Ankalaev. Uzdemir and Ankalaev are really good. I rate them very highly in the light heavyweight division. But yeah, man, this is such a hard fight to predict because Johnny Walker's been a bit more methodical lately, especially Ming Zhang. He fucking, I don't know what the hell that was. He came out with a flying takedown. Then he got on the bottom position. But yeah, he could utilize leg kicks and stuff. If he's methodical, the way he was saying that he wants to be methodical, if he loses his fight, he'll go to heavyweight. I think Johnny Walker, if he's real smart with it, I think he can land on the chin of Dominic Reyes. He's longer, he's rangier, he's a lot more methodical nowadays. He is goofy still, but he's not as goofy as he used to be. He's not just pure intent, crazy intent. His crazy intent has something meaning behind it. While Dominic Reyes, yes, I do like his list of wins, but also his best win in that 3-fight win streak was Krylov. And Krylov, as much as I like Krylov, it's not the most high caliber win. Krylov has been chinned a few times lately. Anthony Smith, fuck me. Who hasn't beaten Anthony Smith at light heavyweight? And Dustin Jacoby, I think he looked real off in the start of that round. And Carlos Ulberg just looked real blobbed out in his last fight. I don't know if he's going to look like this in this fight. I just have a feeling it's just such a 50-50 pick, but I'm going to choose Johnny Walker. to slime out Dominic Reyes. I just feel like it's whoever lands first wins. And yeah, I just got to throw it out there and say Johnny Walker's going to win by KO. Johnny Walker's $2.10 and Dominic Reyes is $1.74. So yeah, that's that. And for the next fight, we have Curtis Blades versus Josh Hokett. Genuinely a hard fight to choose because Josh Hokett has got all finishes on his record. I know he's getting a massive step up into the heavyweight division, but it is a lot harder to choose than you think. Josh Hokett, his first 2 UFC fights have ended in the first round. Max Gimenez is a jiu-jitsu guy, but Denzel Freeman was actually half decent on the regional scene before he met Josh Hokett. His fight before was kind of trash. I'm very surprised that the UFC has pushed Hokett so far. Curtis Blades, he's a very plotty boxer. Like, you know, he has like some nice low kicks, plotty boxer sort of style, but he's looked pretty average in his last few fights. Like, he could have honestly lost that Rizvan Cunha fight. Got slimed out by Tom in the first round. KO'd Almeida, which doesn't say much because Almeida was basically hugging him, letting him get like KO. I don't know if Curtis Blades has has regressed, or if Josh Hokett isn't as good as I think he could be. Because I could honestly see like a KO from both these blokes. It is heavyweight. It's just like, I think if Curtis Blades uses that range, uses this feels like Josh Hokett's gonna win. So I'm gonna say Josh Hokett by first or second round knockout. I could be wrong. I have a feeling it's going to be like a sort of upset, but not really an upset on the card. If it's not Johnny Walker versus Dominic Reyes, it's going to be either Josh Hokett or Curtis Blades. I feel like it's one of these 2 fights of something like this is going to happen, where a bunch of people are going to choose one fighter, and it's going to end up being the least chose fighter. I'm going to choose Josh Hokett. I have a feeling he's going to go out there and do some big meaty hooks. I really want to change to Curtis Blades. No, I'm just going to stick to Josh Hokett. I hope Curtis Blades wins, but it wouldn't be bad if Josh Hokett won either. I think Josh Hokett's got potential. Curtis Blades is $1.75 and Josh Hokett's $2.10. So, yeah. And for the next fight, we have Azmat Mirzakhanov. This is the co-main event. Oh, blobbing out there. This is the co-main event. Tatsuro fucking... Holy shit, my page is glitching. Tatsuro Taira vs Joshua Van has been cancelled. We'll talk about that fight later on. Might talk about it later on. I don't know what the cancellation was. But yeah, so this fight is very interesting because Paulo Costa's been a middleweight most of his career. Some of the times that he's gone to light heavyweight was because he missed weight. Paulo Costa, you know, he fights about once a year, and that's legitimate. He had a really good fight against Roman Kopylov, beat him the whole way there, but I don't really rate Roman Kopylov that much anymore. Sean Strickland, no shame to losing to him. Then Robert Whittaker, no shame to losing to him. And then there was points in that Luke Rockhold fight where it was like, God damn, you're losing to Luke Rockhold, which is insane. But that was years and years ago. His last 2 fights, he's just getting outstruck by Strickland, like teeped and jabbed. And Roman Kopylov just doesn't have much power at middleweight apparently, so Paulo Costa didn't really respect it as much. Azmat Mirzakhanov looked super good in the UFC so far. I know like a lot of his comp is pretty good, decent too. Like Alonzo Manifield has been in the top 15 for a while. Dustin Kobe, a really great kickboxer. I don't know why he got Brendan Ribeiro. That's crazy work. But Alexander Rakic is a legit light heavyweight. A little bit chinny. But But Asmat Mirzakhanov dropped in with the jab. I feel like Asmat Mirzakhanov is going to be a bit more of a rougher, harder striker. Like when it comes to this fight with Paulo Costa, I don't think he's going to KO Costa, but I do think he's going to beat the shit out of him, be like a Sean Strickland type, except it's going to be more of a beating than like a teep and jab performance. I'm going to go Asmat Mirzakhanov by decision. I think he beats Paulo Costa kind of handily. I haven't seen anything from Paulo to prove to me that he's going to knock out, submit, or like beat Mirzakhanov. I think Mirzakhanov's got him in most of the areas, probably except grappling. I haven't seen Mirzakhanov's grappling, but I think Mirzakhanov's just going to be a step ahead of the whole way, and it's going to be like Strickland versus Costa. Mirzakhanov is $1.50. Paulo Costa is $2.60. Now, we are on to the main event. Hold on. Oh, shit. Now I've got to fucking get up and really, talk about this fight. Because everyone's been clowning me and saying, Carlos Ulberg can't do this. He won't, Yuri's going to plot hole his way to the belt. Do you understand? So let's go through these guys' records, right? And they both look super impressive. So Yuri Prochazka's last 3 fights was Alex Pereira the second time, got knocked out brutally with a counter combo. This was with the kick and then, the strikes to the ground. Jamal Hill had some struggles in that fight with a lot of counter strikes, okay? A lot of pull back rights. Yuri was getting caught with them. Then we had the Khalil Roundtree fight. Mind you, Yuri came back, KO'd Jamal Hill. Yuri came back, KO'd Khalil Roundtree. Khalil Roundtree doesn't have very strong hands. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's properly pillowed hand, but I don't think he was ever strong enough to one punch knock out Yuri, which is one of the only ways you're getting Yuri. You have to rock him bad, like a Pereira, excuse me, I know this sounds weird, like a Carlos Ulberg. Because if you look at the comp that Carlos Ulberg's been facing, these are guys that are hard to knock out. Guys that are actual blockheads of the division. Yuri, he was losing that Khalil Roundtree fight. A lot of counter punches was catching Yuri. As much as we want to admit, oh yeah, it's fun. I love Yuri. I love Yuri a lot. I think he's a great fighter. I think he's a great personality. I think he is I'd love to have him as champ. I love Ulberg just that bit more. I have my reasons. I've met Ulberg in real life. I've trained with him. He's a great guy. This was years and years ago. Right, let's look at the thing of Carlos Ulberg, right? His last, we'll go 4 fights. We'll start from Alonzo Manyfield. Right, who the fuck charges at someone and then counter right, boom. Right on the chin of Alonzo and just slimes him out. Colds him, right? Block on Uzdemir. Blockhead. Uzdemir is a known blockhead. Beat the shit out of Uzdemir. Had him rocked a few times. You're not going to finish Uzdemir. He's a level 1 blockhead. Jan Blachowicz had a close fight with Jan, super close fight, but Jan has that with everyone. Jan did that against Yuri. Jan has done this against Bodgar Gooskop, had a fucking draw. He did this against Ankalaev, had a draw. He could have won against Pereira. He could have won, you know what I mean? Jan does this with everyone. You're not knocking Jan out. Carlos Ulberg was doing really good work against Jan, throwing that leg kick, not throwing that right as much because Jan has a beautiful left overhand, left hook. It's a weird left hook, but you're not doing that to Jan Blachowicz. Jan Blachowicz is going to have a close fight with everyone. That's why I consider Jan one of the best light heavyweights to do it, even though his title reign wasn't long. And then now this last Dominic Reyes fight. Mind you, I didn't think Dominic Reyes was in his best form. Reyes was coming forward. Carlos Ulberg was filling him out for those first few minutes of the fight, and then when he knew he could knock him out, boom. 1-2, straight down the middle, straight down the pipe. and knocked him out. And I feel like if Yuri just charges forward like he has in these last few fights, where he has got knocked out by maybe only Pereira, Carlos Ulberg has power in his hands, underrated power in his hands. I'm not just pulling his shit out of my butt. You can see this in his fights. He's been knocking out like the guys with a half decent chin. It's not like these are chinny blokes he's chinning. Like, yes, Dominic Reyes is a little bit chinny, but Jan Blachowicz, not a blockhead, just like really fucking, like, who's knocked out Jan? Somehow Glover's got old man strength, but Volkan Oezdemir, known blockhead. I don't think Yuri's going to be able to blockhead his way through this. Like, maybe he can. Maybe he can come through, get a few counters off on Carlos Ulberg. But, like, who's hurting Ulberg? Who is... All I'm saying is, I think the style of Ulberg is going to give Yuri trouble. I think that, like, lower leg kick, that 1-2 down the straight, and if he hits Yuri with that just a bit too much, I think Yuri's going to go down eventually. It might take 1, it might take 2. I think at least 3 rounds, and then Yuri goes down. We have a new champion like Carlos Ulberg. I love Ulberg, I love Yuri, but I think Ulberg's going to win this fight. I'm going to make a whole video on it. But listen, bro, this is a cracker card. In Miami, shit poster. And yeah, that's all I got to say. Listen, I might get a bunch of hate for this video. Maybe none of you will watch it. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. I always appreciate it. And I'll see you all later. Thanks. Bye.